Before diving into this incredible story, consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the bell. Every story here has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Charleston, summer evening. The streets were bustling, restaurant lights twinkling like stars falling over the city. Clarissa Harper, mother of two, walked in with Jordan and Mia, smiling, hoping to share a simple dinner after a long day at work. The Magnolia, a restaurant renowned for its luxury and wealthy clientele, shone brightly. But as soon as she crossed the threshold, an icy wave hit her. The waiter, Tyler, looked her up and down, his polite smile turning into a contemptuous sneer. "Sorry, madam, we can't accommodate you here tonight," he said in a mock-gentle voice, indicating the door. Clarissa felt her heart clench. Her children stared at her in confusion, unable to understand why their mother had to endure this treatment. The whispers of the other customers added to the humiliation, prying glances that judged without knowing. She left the restaurant, her face burning, her dignity bruised. But in that pain was born a silent promise. She would return. Not as a mere customer, not as a victim, but as an owner. And on that day, she would make the restaurant pay the price for arrogance and discrimination with a calm, relentless force. Because some humiliations are never forgotten. They turn into ambition. The sun was setting over Charleston, painting the facades in orange hues. Clarissa Harper entered the Magnolia with her children, Jordan, 10, and Mia, 7. She had reserved a table to celebrate a small personal victory, a promotion at work. As soon as she walked through the door, she felt the heavy gaze of the waiter, Tyler. His polite smile seemed forced, almost sarcastic. "Hello, we have a reservation for Harper," Clarissa said in a calm but warm voice. Tyler frowned and replied curtly. I'm sorry, ma'am. We can't accommodate you tonight." Clarissa blinked in disbelief. "Excuse me? We booked a week ago." Tyler shrugged and, with a condescending gesture toward the door, repeated. "I'm sorry, madam, but you can't stay." Jordan and Mia exchanged a worried look. "Mom, why do we have to leave?" Jordan asked, his voice trembling. Clarissa felt a cold anger rise within her. She took a deep breath and tried to remain calm. "We're going to leave, my darlings," she whispered, her eyes shining with tears that she refused to let fall. As they left the restaurant, Clarissa heard whispers, muffled laughter, and silent judgments. Every step outside felt like an affront to her dignity. But beneath the pain, a spark ignited. She promised herself that one day, this place would be hers. Not to humiliate those who had rejected her, but to prove that perseverance and dignity always triumph. Walking down the street, hand in hand with her children, Clarissa straightened. Her pain turned to determination. This humiliating moment would be the beginning of an irreversible change. Back home, Clarissa closed the door behind her children and sat in the small living room, the silence heavy. Jordan and Mia played with their hands, still reeling from what they had just experienced. Clarissa looked at them and felt her heart clench. She knew today's hurt would scar them for a long time, but she wanted to turn this pain into a lesson. "Listen to me," she said softly but firmly, "you are never defined by how others treat you. The color of your skin, your clothes, or your means do not change your worth." The children nodded shyly. Mia, the youngest, placed her small hand on her mother's. "But Mom, why did they treat us like that?" she asked, her voice trembling. Clarissa took a deep breath, trying to contain the anger boiling inside her. "Because some people don't understand respect. But you know what? One day, things will change. And on that day, I'll come back. But I won't come back to fight them. I'll come back with power, and no one will be able to humiliate us again." Jordan and Mia looked at her, amazed by this strength they had never seen before. Clarissa stood up, took their hands in hers, and said, "We will never let anyone diminish us. Never. This humiliation, it will not last. It will be the beginning of our victory." That night, Clarissa made a silent promise: she would transform this injustice into strength. Every decision, every future action, would be guided by this moment, this constant reminder that perseverance and dignity could overcome any adversity. She finally fell asleep, her children cuddled against her, with a new sense of determination burning in her heart. The story of their humiliation wasn't the end, it was the beginning of something much greater. Weeks turned into months, and months into years. Clarissa Harper, still driven by the promise she made to her children, threw herself into building her future. Every morning, she rose before dawn, juggling her job as a manager at a small local business with her evening studies in management and entrepreneurship. Her modest apartment often echoed with the sound of turning pages and financial calculations. Jordan and Mia, now accustomed to the smell of their mother's coffee and long evenings of work, watched her with admiration. Clarissa never spoke to them of fatigue, she only showed her determination. Little by little, she began investing in small culinary projects, testing recipes in her kitchen and selling her creations at community events. Word of mouth spread quickly. Her dishes were delicious, refined and served with a warmth that contrasted with the elitism of the Magnolia. But Clarissa didn't just want to cook. She wanted to own her own space, a place where no one would ever be shamed for their color or appearance. She connected with local investors and developed a solid plan: buy, remodel, and turn around an existing restaurant. Every decision she made, every sum she invested, was a step toward the silent revenge she had promised. Temporary setbacks only strengthened her resolve. Every bank rejection or closed door reminded her of Magnolia and the humiliation of that summer day. Jordan asked him one evening, "Mom, are we really going to succeed?" Clarissa looked at him with a tender smile and replied, "We don't succeed just for ourselves. We succeed to show the world that dignity and hard work cannot be bought with arrogance. We will succeed, and on that day, you will see that patience and perseverance are more powerful than any injustice." Thus, year after year, Clarissa Harper transformed her dream into a strategy. Her gaze was always fixed on the goal: to retake the Magnolia, not out of hatred, but out of a desire for justice and recognition. And in this burning ambition, her children found inspiration and pride. 3 years after her humiliation, Clarissa Harper had transformed her life. Her small culinary business was thriving, and her reputation as a determined and capable woman was growing throughout the city. But she knew that true revenge had yet to arrive. One afternoon, while browsing real estate listings to find a new location for her restaurant, she came across a piece of information that made her heart beat faster. The Magnolia was for sale. The ad cited tired owners, a dwindling clientele, and an establishment whose reputation had been tarnished by criticism of management and past discrimination. Clarissa stood there for a moment, breathless, in front of her screen. 3 years earlier, this restaurant had been the scene of her humiliation. Now, it represented the chance to turn that painful memory into a resounding victory. She immediately called her financial partner and explained the plan precisely. "The Magnolia isn't just a restaurant to buy. It's a symbol. If we take it over, we'll create a place where every customer is respected, where discrimination has no place. We're not seeking personal revenge, but justice embodied in success." The investors were captivated by her vision. Clarissa carefully prepared every detail: financial plan, design, staff training, marketing strategy. She knew that the purchase was only the first step. The Magnolia's transformation would be tangible proof of her perseverance and intact dignity. A few weeks later, the papers were signed. Clarissa Harper officially owned the Magnolia. She had stepped out of her old nightmare and into a new chapter of her life, one in which she held control and the ability to rewrite the history of the place that had once humiliated her. As she left the notary's office, a proud smile crossed her face. This milestone was not just a material acquisition, it was the beginning of the silent but resounding revenge she had promised her children and herself. Clarissa Harper walked through the door of her new restaurant for the first time as owner. The Magnolia, once a place of humiliation, was now her most ambitious project yet. The walls, tarnished by time and painful memories, awaited her vision. She hired renowned designers, determined to transform the venue into an elegant, modern, and welcoming space. Warm colors replaced cold, impersonal tones. The carefully arranged tables left ample space for guests' comfort, and touches of local art gave the restaurant a unique identity. The crystal chandeliers were replaced with soft, welcoming lighting that gave the impression of dining under golden light. But for Clarissa, the most important transformation was human. She hired a diverse staff, motivated not only by salary but also by the ethic of respect and inclusion. Each employee underwent rigorous training on quality service, but above all on the fair and dignified treatment of every customer, regardless of race, appearance, or social status. In the days that followed, Clarissa personally oversaw every detail: the menus, the table layout, the training of the servers, and the organization of the kitchen. Every decision bore her signature, her energy, and her desire to show that the Magnolia was no longer a symbol of discrimination, but of respect and success. One evening, as she walked the renovated corridors, Clarissa felt a strange emotion, a mixture of pride, satisfaction, and quiet justice. The place that had once humiliated her had become the scene of her revenge, but a noble revenge, built on perseverance, discipline, and elegance. Guests who came to experience the new Magnolia couldn't imagine the story behind every wall, every light, and every smile from the staff. But for Clarissa, every detail told a story of resilience, a story of dignity transformed into resounding success. The long-awaited evening arrived. Clarissa Harper, dressed in an elegant gown and perfectly confident, entered the Magnolia, hand in hand with Jordan and Mia. The restaurant shone in its new light, elegant and welcoming. But for her, every step felt like a personal victory. Tyler, the waiter who had humiliated her 3 years earlier, was still there. At the sight of Clarissa, he froze, mouth agape. His sneer of contempt was gone, replaced by shock and fear. Clarissa calmly walked up to the counter where Tyler was standing and said in a firm, controlled voice, "Good evening. I'm Clarissa Harper, and this restaurant is now mine." Silence fell. The customers present watched, captivated by the intensity of the moment. Tyler's eyes widened, unable to mask his guilt and discomfort. Clarissa continued, her tone calm but full of determination. "Here, everyone is treated with respect. No one will ever be discriminated against again, and no one will be judged for their color, appearance, or position." Murmurs rippled through the room. The customers understood that this was not a simple announcement, but a lesson in dignity and perseverance. Tyler bowed his head, unable to respond, while Clarissa gestured for her children to stay close. Jordan and Mia, amazed by their mother's courage and strength, smiled shyly. For them, this scene wasn't just about revenge, it was a demonstration that perseverance and dignity could transform any humiliation into triumph. That night, the Magnolia wasn't just a renovated, elegant restaurant. It had become a living symbol of Clarissa Harper's resilience, a testament that patience, vision, and inner strength always trump hatred and arrogance. Tyler, still frozen behind the counter, finally stammered, Mrs. Harper. I didn't know." Clarissa looked at him calmly, her eyes burning with the quiet determination she had cultivated for 3 years. She did not seek revenge through humiliation, but she wanted past injustice acknowledged. "You didn't know?" she repeated, her voice soft but sharp. "No, Tyler. What you did that night was perfectly clear. You humiliated me, you humiliated my children, but it wasn't my fault. It was yours." The employees watching the scene felt the tension rising. Some looked away, others shuddered as they finally understood the weight of the past. The customers, for their part, remained speechless before this silent but powerful confrontation. Clarissa continued, "Today, I'm no longer a customer you can dismiss. I'm the owner. And in this restaurant, respect is not optional. Every person, every customer, and every employee deserves dignity and consideration." Tyler, ashamed, bowed his head, unable to respond. The other staff members, impressed by Clarissa's poise and strength, exchanged silent glances. They understood that they were now under management that would never tolerate discrimination. Clarissa took a step forward, placing a hand on the counter. "You have a choice, Tyler. You can learn, adapt, and serve customers with respect, or you can leave this restaurant. But I will never tolerate arrogance and contempt again." There was a heavy silence. Tyler, his shoulders slumped, barely whispered, "Yes, Mrs. Harper. I understand." In this moment of confrontation, Clarissa showed neither anger nor malicious satisfaction. Her triumph lay in her self-control, her dignity, and the change she silently imposed. For her, true revenge lay not in humiliating others, but in transforming injustice into success and respect. Customers and employees witnessing this scene understood that Magnolia had changed. It was no longer simply a luxury restaurant, it embodied resilience, the power of dignity, and the impact of one person determined to transform pain into strength. Under the direction of Clarissa Harper, the Magnolia began to thrive like never before. Every detail reflected his vision, the service was impeccable, the atmosphere warm and welcoming, and every customer felt respected and valued. Curious about this transformation, local critics came to test the restaurant. They were unanimous: the elegance of the place, the quality of the dishes and the inclusive atmosphere made it a symbol of modern luxury, but above all, of respect and humanity. Clarissa hadn't just bought a restaurant, she had created a space where past injustice no longer had a place. Former customers who had witnessed the humiliation were surprised by the staff's hospitality and professionalism. Tyler, transformed by experience and rigorous training, now served with respect and humility, aware that his past behavior would never be forgotten but could be corrected by his present actions. The Magnolia's success attracted community events, conferences, and charity events. Clarissa used her platform to encourage diversity and inclusion in local business, offering internships and training to young entrepreneurs from disadvantaged backgrounds. Jordan and Mia, proud of their mother, watched her shine in the spotlight of a success they had helped inspire. The entire town began to recognize Clarissa as a symbol of ambition, perseverance, and dignity. One evening, while hosting a conference for young women entrepreneurs, Clarissa addressed the audience. "It's not discrimination or humiliation that defines who you are. It's your reaction to it. Perseverance, patience, and dignity are your most powerful weapons." The Magnolia was no longer just a restaurant, it had become a living symbol of renewal and quiet justice. Every customer smile, every employee success, and every step Jordan and Mia took in that place reinforced Clarissa's triumph over past injustice. This renewal was not only material, but moral and emotional, a living testimony that courage and resilience can transform any humiliation into a resounding triumph. Clarissa Harper was no longer just the owner of a successful restaurant. She had become an inspiring figure throughout Charleston and beyond. Her success story told a story of perseverance, dignity, and quiet justice that deeply touched those who heard it. Young black women came to her, eager for advice on overcoming the obstacles and discrimination they faced in their daily lives. They admired her strength, her patience, and her ability to transform pain into success. At conferences and community events, Clarissa shared her journey. "You are not defined by the humiliations or injustices you suffer. You are defined by how you get back up. Every challenge can become an opportunity." Stories of her children, Jordan and Mia, who had grown up with a strong and resilient mother, also circulated. People saw in them a reflection of her determination and courage. Her words and example encouraged many young people to pursue their dreams despite social, economic, or racial obstacles. The Magnolia became a gathering center for the community, a place where talent, hard work, and inclusion were celebrated. Clarissa initiated mentorship programs and offered internships to young entrepreneurs from disadvantaged backgrounds. Each success of her protégés was a collective victory for her, proof that change was possible when one never loses sight of one's dignity and goals. What began as a humiliation, a cruel injustice, had transformed into a catalyst for social transformation. Clarissa Harper was now living proof that resilience and perseverance could not only change a life, but inspire an entire community to believe in themselves and act with courage. One summer evening, Clarissa Harper stood in the center of Magnolia, surrounded by her children, her staff, and a crowd of loyal customers. The mood was celebratory, the restaurant's renovation, the business's success, and the impact it was having on the community were now visible and tangible. Jordan and Mia ran between the tables, laughing and sharing moments of complicity with the waiters and young customers. Clarissa watched them, her heart filled with pride. 3 years earlier, these same children had witnessed her humiliation, and now they were witnessing her revenge, not a revenge based on vengeance, but on success and regained dignity. Tyler, now a respectful employee and aware of his past mistakes, approached timidly. "Mrs. Harper, thank you, for giving me a chance to redeem myself." Clarissa smiled kindly. "Everyone deserves a second chance, Tyler. But never forget, respect is earned every day." That evening, Clarissa's clients, investors, and friends raised their glasses in tribute to her perseverance and leadership. Journalists in attendance noted that the Magnolia was no longer just a fancy restaurant, but a symbol of resilience, justice, and personal success. Clarissa felt an intense emotion wash over her. 3 years earlier, she had been humiliated along with her children. Today, she stood proudly in her restaurant, master of her destiny, inspiring all who met her. She took Jordan and Mia's hand and said to them, "Always remember this, it's not what the world does to you, but what you do afterward that defines your future. We have transformed pain into strength, and this victory is ours." The lights of the Magnolia shone brightly, illuminating the smiles, laughter, and moved eyes of the customers. This was no longer just the victory of a restaurant or a woman, but the victory of dignity, resilience, and perseverance. Clarissa Harper had proven that injustice could be overcome, that the power to transform humiliation into triumph lay in courage, patience, and vision. And so, the Magnolia became a place where success and respect were won, and where Clarissa Harper's story would continue to inspire all generations to come.